What's up, you guys? This is Tim Trevathan with Tim Trevathan Homes on another video, and this one is going to be great. Why? Because it's the end of the year, and you know what that means. That means real estate housing market predictions. Yay! So 2026 is a good new year, fresh start for a lot of people when it comes to pursuing their home buying dreams, as well as those that are possibly selling and looking to move out of state or somewhere local for whatever reason that you may have. Without further ado, we're gonna dive into Redfin's predictions, and there are 11 predictions, and I'm gonna share about my perspective, whether I agree, disagree, or just various insight that I can provide nationally, as well as what I think here in Metro Atlanta, where I live and work, for those that are actually looking to move to Georgia, so that you know what to expect. So let's take a look at the title of this article first. I find it very interesting. Redfin's 2026 predictions. Welcome to the Great Housing Reset. And when they mean Great Housing Reset, they're saying that this coming year, 2026, is a year of opportunity for home buyers specifically. We're gonna see if it really is true, and I'm gonna dive deep into these predictions. So here we go, prediction number 1. Mortgage rates will dip to low 6% range, one factor improving affordability. Mortgage rates will continue their slow slide but remain high relative to the pandemic era. The 30-year fixed rate will average 6.3% for the entire year, down from its 2025 average of 6.6%. We look at this past year and we can see that rates really didn't go down, nor did they go up. They stayed in that 6.0 to 6.6% range the entire year. Now I know a lot of people are talking about, well, the Fed's gonna lower the rate, and then that's gonna affect mortgage rates so that those will be lower too. But let's keep in mind that it's not necessarily the case. And it's not tied to the Fed rate as much as it is the Treasury yield. If we recall from last year, I think it was around September or October of 2024, they had that one rate cut, and guess what happened the very next day? Interest rates for mortgages went up. Then we had a rate cut back in October of this year. And once that happened with the Fed rate going down, interest rates went up again for mortgage rates. So we can see that there is no correlation necessarily with the Fed rate. But if we just look at the interest rate and where do we think it's gonna go, I would agree with this. Why? Because we're seeing how in the last 2 years, things have just been steady. In the last, if you go back to even March of 2022, when rates did skyrocket from where they were at all-time historic lows of 3%, they've remained in that 6 to 6.5 range. Now, some are predicting, such as Lawrence Yun, the chief economist and chairman of NAR, National Association of Realtors, saying that it could go down into the 5s, maybe mid-5s. Now, he's an optimist, so that's probably the best case scenario. And if so, that will be great because it will allow for more affordability to come in for buyers. Now, where do I see the actual movement happening? Probably in the low 5s. So even if we go into the 5s, I don't know if that's gonna do a lot of good in terms of movement and activity to get buyers off the fence to be able to qualify for a mortgage and say, I'm ready to purchase a home. Because if you look on a mortgage calculator, the difference between say 6% and 5.5%, or 6.5 versus 6%, it's not that much of a difference. You might be looking at $100 to $150, maybe $200 difference in your mortgage payment. And for people who want to buy, especially first-time home buyers that are saving for a down payment, they're not going to have much money left over after closing to make any repairs. They're going to be very sensitive to the rates. Let's see how it goes in 2026. Prediction number 2, home buying affordability will improve as wages grow faster than prices. We expect the median U.S. home sale price to rise 1% year over year in 2026. Prices will tick up only marginally because still high mortgage rates and prices, along with a weaker economy, will curb demand. So yes, besides interest rates being a factor to help with affordability, wage growth is the other key factor. And to be honest, I would say this is the number one key factor, because if home prices are coming down, which they are here in Metro Atlanta as a whole, but not as much as what people are hoping, and then if the interest rates are not dropping as much as they would like, then really the only other thing is wage growth. And now, for those that are on W-2, you're an employee for a company, you have a fixed income. For that, you have to save. You have to be very frugal, and you have to really know how to budget so that you can reach your home buying goals. But those that are, say, on a 1099, they're business owners, your income varies from year to year. If you have a solid year, you can use this year's income for your tax return coming up as another year to help you qualify for more in terms of a price point that you want to get you and your family into here in Metro Atlanta. Now, having said all that, wage growth, while it is going up, it's still not keeping up with home prices. If you look back, I would say 50, 60 years ago, home prices were 3 times the amount of a household's income. Then in the 1970s, more women started to enter the workforce, so now you've got more purchasing power, so that allowed for people to still afford homes as home prices were going up, even if wages were not necessarily going up as much either at that time. Now in 2025, we have 7 times the value of home prices than that of wages for the average median household income. So to really be able to afford a home, and with already 2 working adults in the family, there's really not much leeway as far as being able to afford a home. So wage growth, yes, while it is good, we're still looking at a possibly slower year in 2026. Prediction 3, home sales will rise 3%. And this is not to confuse home prices, okay? So this is saying home sales. So the number of homes that are going to sell will rise by 3%, not home prices rising by 3%. So don't get those two things confused. Now, this is actually a pretty easy prediction, because if you look at this chart here, we've already had record low sales in the last 3 years. In fact, the lowest in history besides the Great Recession back in 2007, 2008. We had 4.1 million homes sold this year, just like last year, nationally. So that includes all homes that have sold in every state, all 50 states, 4.1 million homes. So the prediction of 3% rise next year would mean just a mediocre 4.2 million homes. And I say mediocre because if you have less homes for sale, that means 2 things. 1, people are not moving, and so there's less inventory to be able to look for and be able to decide, hey, this is where I want to buy, as well as builders not building as much. And number 2, it shows that people really are stuck. They have golden handcuffs, meaning those that bought prior to 2021, yes, they've got an incredibly low mortgage, an incredibly low rate, but they also don't want to move because they'll end up losing that rate if they do sell their home. Now, of course, there's those that need to sell, upsize, downsize, divorce or marriage or other relocations with their job. Those kind of reasons will get people to move no matter, despite the market, regardless of the situation. But that's still a small pool of buyers versus those that may want to have affordability on their side to be able to buy a home. Prediction 4, rents will rise as demand for apartments rises and supply falls. Demand for apartments will rise as supply falls in 2026, leading to rising rents in many metro areas. Nationwide, we expect rents to rise about 2 to 3% year over year by the end of 2026, roughly the pace of inflation. Now, this would be the first one where I would just say no, I disagree with it, because in the metro Atlanta market here hyper locally, it's not the case. I drive and I look out on the streets of Gwinnett County where I live, and I see apartment complexes getting built left and right. I mean, it is insanity, and we really don't need more. And what that means is actually we have too much supply and we got more traffic, and it makes people want to get an apartment because it's brand new versus, say, a new construction home, which they can't afford. Well, they rather go with a newer apartment for the time being. And if we're to look at an actual real life case study, I'll use myself as an example. Firsthand experience, I have a rental property in Lawrenceville, and I was renting it out for $2,225 a month. This is a 12-month lease going on 2nd year with my tenant. This house is 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms with 1,650 square feet, and it's built in 2001 with a lot of updates: new roof, new HVAC, new appliances like a water heater, as well as a refrigerator and a microwave. So it's got a lot of things going for it. But my tenant, seeing how rents have actually decreased over the past year, wanted to renegotiate in our new lease that's coming up in the next 2 months. And so I ended up having to accept a lower rate of $2,100. I'm not complaining, but I'm just letting you know that this is what the market is here in Metro Atlanta. Rents are actually going down, and we have an increase in supply with apartments. So there's more to be had, more to choose from, a bigger amount of homes as far as rentals go that are available for renting. Prediction number 5, high housing costs will reshape households with more roommates and fewer babies. The improvement in affordability won't be enough to immediately boost home ownership for young families. Gen Z and millennial home ownership rates flatlined last year. and we expect that trend to continue. Household makeup will shift further away from the nuclear family, with more adult children living with their parents and vice versa. We also expect more friends to pool resources to buy homes together, often with prenup-style agreements. So yes, while the predictions earlier were saying that interest rates will come down, home prices are also coming down, we also still have affordability issues where now people are going to consolidate. We've already been seeing that, and I think we're going to see it more. I remember when I first moved to Georgia, I rented a room out of a lady's house for $400, including Wi-Fi and utilities, in 2016. You can't find that deal anywhere anymore. But I could tell you that still, obviously, the cheapest way to go is to rent a room rather than rent a house. And if you can find roommates, what better way than to go ahead and share the cost, split it that way, and save more money as a result. Now, in terms of the fewer babies part of this prediction, it's true. The fertility rate here in the US is about 1.6 babies per household. And if we actually look at other countries, it's worse. I mean, Europe, it's going down into the low ones. The lowest in the world in South Korea is 0.7. And to see a population increasing over time, you need to have a rate of at least 2.1. So 2 babies per household. And so we're not getting that. And what that means is that as the years go on, we're gonna have less population, less people willing to buy, which will make home prices not go up as much because there'll be less demand overall. But until that happens, while that reset is still ongoing and still processing, and it could take years to get to a point of more affordability, right now, right here, we're having to deal with consolidation, and that is a real thing here in Metro Atlanta as well. Prediction number 6, affordability crisis will unite policymakers across party lines. Voters in the November election, especially young ones, made it clear that lowering housing costs is their top priority. Not only are sale prices and mortgage rates high, but the total cost of homeownership is rising due to skyrocketing insurance premiums and the likelihood that utility costs will surge due to large-scale AI-driven data centers. This one I can't really comment much on because first, I try not to dive into politics when it comes to being in real estate. I just like to help people buy and sell homes and just that, and help solve problems and getting them to the closing table successfully. But besides that, the only opinion that I could share is like, yes, this would be great. This would be ideal. I hope that policymakers can unite, but will they? I don't know. And there's a lot of things that have been talked about, such as outlawing big institutional investors like BlackRock from buying up so many homes and keeping homes off the market. But to be honest, it's such a small percentage. As crazy as it may sound, it's actually a small percentage of houses that they own that really won't make a big impact. However, I still think that possibly it would be nice to see that kind of regulation where there's a limit to that amount, but we'll see where that goes. And I'm not saying that that's the only solution because there's a lot of different factors involved. Prediction number 7, more Americans will refi and remodel. We expect U.S. mortgage refinance volume to increase more than 30% annually in 2026, ending the year at a total of $670 billion. More Americans will refinance largely because 20% of mortgage homeowners have a rate above 6%. And those who bought recently with an elevated rate are chomping at the bit to bring their monthly payments down. So in other words, refinancing their mortgage and remodeling and renovating their house. Yes, we've been seeing this already, and I think that this prediction is true for 2026 as it will continue at a rapid pace. I'll use myself as an example for the refinance part. I bought a house last summer in Lawrenceville at a 6.875% interest rate. Rates went down to about 6.1 just about 2 months ago. So literally only about 14 months later, I decided to refinance. And on top of that, bought down the rate, also worked with my lender who helps me out as well, and was able to refinance that into a 5.375% rate over a 30-year fixed term with an appraisal waiver on the same house that I bought 14 months ago. It's already happened to me within the last year, and it will happen even more so next year if rates can get down into the low 6s or high 5s. So again, this isn't for people who are looking to buy, it's people that already own a home that want to refinance their current mortgage. As far as the remodeling part, again, use myself as firsthand experience. I've done a lot to this house that I'm in right now. I've gotten new light fixtures. I've gotten refinishing of the hardwood floors. I put new sod in my backyard. I've got a brand new fence because the house that I bought is 1993 and it's got an original fence that's fallen apart. So I just went on ahead and got a brand new 6-foot wooden fence. I also got brand new interior paint on the main level and the second level, and I sanded that popcorn ceiling down prior to them painting the entire house. Had some plumbing issues, had those fixed as well. Even had polybutylene piping, replaced that. That's a whole nother story you can see in another video. I have a link down below about inspection process here in Georgia. So there's a lot that people are doing. I go to Home Depot, I see people always there. I've got contractors that I'm working with, they're booked for weeks and weeks with so many different projects. I've got clients that are buying houses as investment, and they're using their contractors to go ahead and renovate those houses where they're putting in brand new hardwood floors on all levels of the house. So things like that I'm seeing, even kitchen renovations, master bathrooms. They're getting glass companies to come out to do that frameless shower enclosure. So there's a lot of things going on with renovations, and that will continue, especially with those that cannot afford to move. They're going to be stuck in their house for several years. That's where they're going to put their money, most likely. Prediction number 8, NYC, New York City outskirts, Great Lakes region will be hot. Zoom towns like Nashville and Austin will not. Well, yeah, it's already been happening, and I guess this prediction is saying that it's going to continue. I mean, if we look at the market, some of the biggest resets going on right now are Austin, Texas, and Houston, Texas, and other places, especially in Florida, in coastal towns with condos with high HOA fees. These prices are going down. I think Austin's already seeing like a 20 to 30% drop in home values, and it's leading near the top in terms of the biggest metropolitan areas in the US. And why are places like New York City going up when it's already so high priced there? It's because of the supply and demand, the nature of supply and demand. And quite frankly, there's very little supply there, even though here in Georgia, we have finally, after I think about 5 years, have seen the inventory match with pre-pandemic levels. So in other words, the supply that we had of homes available for sale in 2019 to where we are here in 2025 are now matching. What does that mean? Well, it means that this is kind of the point of comparison. When we get to that point, we should start seeing home prices come down some because there's more supply than there is demand. And so we were looking at this number for the longest time. Will it come up to that amount? And it finally has towards the latter half of this year. And have home prices come down? Yes, they have. So I think they will continue here locally in Metro Atlanta. I work in Gwinnett, North Fulton, Hall, Barrow, Forsyth, Dekalb, all kinds of different places here. And in North Metro Atlanta especially, we're seeing home prices come down all over the place, whether it's Dekalb, Duluth, Lawrenceville, Suwanee, Beaufort, Houston, Brazelton, Norcross, Peachtree Corners, other places in like Decatur. But look, even within all that, there are some places that are not seeing as much of a home value shift, like Johns Creek, Alpharetta, the hottest suburbs, the ones that are ranked the best for schools, safety, and employment. You're seeing still home prices stay relatively the same. But overall, yes, prices are coming down. Will we see them continue to come down in 2026? I think the answer is yes, unless interest rates do come down into the 5s, especially the low 5s. But that's the prediction that we all want to know. Will it actually come to pass? Prediction number 9, climate migration will go hyper-local. As climate-driven events like hurricanes and wildfires become more frequent and intense, climates will become a more popular reason to move. But people won't necessarily make big moves like from coastal Florida to the Midwest. Well, I can tell you right now that I've helped a lot of people move to Georgia from out of state. People have moved here from Seattle, Maine, New Jersey, New York, Brooklyn, Dallas, Texas, Houston, Texas, all kinds of places in California, LA, Sacramento, the Bay Area, as well as Florida and Tennessee, really everywhere, Michigan, Indiana, Idaho. And one of the biggest reasons that I hear people move here, besides lower taxes and more affordability here than where they're from, it is the weather. And people love 4 full seasons here. Particularly one client that moved this year, they bought a house in Suwanee in Gwinnett County. And I just reached out to them a few weeks ago. They have been living in their home now for about 4 or 5 months. They're seeing how warm the fall weather was just a few weeks ago and how it was like 70 degrees as the leaves are falling down. They could never see that where they're from over in North Michigan. So that's the kind of thing that buyers from up north are seeing, and they're loving about this weather here, but still getting 4 full seasons. Yes, we get snow maybe once every 3 years, once every 2 years. And for a lot of people, that's what they want. They want mild winters. Summers can be brutal, yes, but where else are they having hot summers? Pretty much everywhere, except for the farthest northern states. And really, you got swimming pools here. We got plenty of swimming pools. Not like Florida, but plenty for you to be able to dive in. And that's why we bought a house with a swimming pool, because our family can enjoy it during the summers. Prediction number 10, NAR will let local MLSs call the shots, sparking consolidation. And in fact, this is already going on. If you look at Inman News, a real estate website with a lot of different real estate news, it says here in this headline, NAR repeals rule requiring membership for MLS access, leaves decision to locals. Again, this may not impact buyers and sellers per se, but it's still good information for you guys to know who's watching this video, because for me, I'm very much tied to my local board of realtors called NAMR, North Atlanta Metro Association of Realtors. We're bound by a code of ethics that if you're not part of a board, you technically are not bound by a code of ethics. So that's the advantage of working with somebody like me who has that code of ethics that has to be followed based on what our board affiliation is telling us. And also just being able to get access to different statistics, guidance, questions to contracts, legal matters, and so forth. And last but not least, prediction number 11, AI will become a real estate matchmaker. Generative AI will increasingly help people decide where to move, identifying cities, towns, neighborhoods, and homes that fit users' budgets and lifestyle criteria. Instead of a typical geographic search, homebuyers will search for precisely what they want and have a back and forth conversation with search sites giving feedback to tailor their search results. I know a lot of people use ChatGPT. It's a great resource for the AI technology that it offers. And a lot of people search for, what is the best place to live here in Metro Atlanta? And the thing is, they pull information from other pre-existing sources. So yes, while AI is great, it all depends on where they're pulling the information from. Well, get this. If you search things such as Koreatown here in Atlanta, Georgia, and you type in what is the best Koreatown here in Atlanta, and the ChatGPT result is going to give you some results, and it's going to pull information from my own blog, my own website. So while AI, I'm using it for different scripts, even things like telling y'all about the real estate market here, I still do my own local research and manually write out these blogs with information that is hyper local. Because AI can give you a general idea, but it can't give you a hyper local decision-making process that can help aid in your decision. So that's where I come into play, and I hope that I can work with you. If you're watching this video, I help buyers and sellers move. I want to help them be able to achieve their home buying dreams, as well as selling and making it a smooth process for top dollar as fast as possible with the least amount of problems. So call me if you're looking to make a move here in 2026 coming up, because this is a whole fresh new year of opportunity. A lot of people got different goals. They got new tax returns. They got more money saved up. They want to have a place to call home, and especially those that have growing families. They need more space, or just having a family to start off with. They want a house to be able to cover their whole family in one roof, feel secure, proud to be an owner, build equity, and see their home appreciate over time, especially as you live in it longer. I'm telling buyers these days, do be careful where you choose to buy, and don't go out of your means. So if you're trying to buy a 5-bedroom, 3,000 square foot home, you've only got one child, it may be okay to look for the 3-bedroom house and have a nice little yard so that you can play with your kids, maybe a no HOA environment, or if it is a HOA, one that's not so strict. And then plan on being in that house for at least 6 years or more so that you can allow yourself to build equity. Otherwise, you sell too soon, you won't have equity to pull out. So be aware of those things. We can cover different strategies to help you buy a home. I'm paired up with a great lender who can help with that too on the lending side. So I can't wait to hear from you. Catch you on the next video. Like and subscribe if this is your first time. See you on the next video.